contact, so no fumble. But they are going, let's see where they're going to spot the ball.
Well, I see 2 footballs on the field. I wonder which one they're going to play with.
Let's play with both.
Yeah.
I want
which one they're going to use.
I've never seen this.
They got one on the 30 and one on the 32.
Well, the one on the 32 is obviously a first down.
Now they got to check and see where the ball is supposed to be marked, I believe.
Now you would have a different element in this game. Snap whichever ball you like.
You know, I just want to go back and make one more point to finish off the story of what happened last week in the BYU game. I mean, it affected where the kick was being made from, and BYU came through and blocked the extra point. And it was a much longer kick than a normal extra point. But you know, BYU may very well have won that game. You got to give credit to them as well. They played an excellent game. They're a very good football team on the road, and they came in here and you know, so you can't necessarily say that lost the game for Washington, but it certainly affected that extra point kick. And it's an unfortunate way for a game to end. You want the game to be decided on the field by the players playing the game, not the guys wearing the striped shirts.
Check in with Holly.
You know, Jake Locker, after that, he went into the locker room and he did apologize to his teammates and tell them it would never happen again. But our Joe Schad came out here to do a feature this week, and you know, when their sports information staff told him about it, he said, you know, I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I think it was a bad call. I don't think they should have called it. And he was really adamant he wasn't going to change who he was and how he played. In fact, he had text messages from about over 100 people, including Archie Manning, who said, you know, hey, we're supporting you out here. But he also got words of wisdom from his dad. His dad hates the kind of guys that celebrate. He's been very strict about it as his coach growing up. But he said, son, I love the way you play. Don't ever change.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
And we don't like guys who call attention to themselves and the hot dogs. But he was not calling attention to himself. Yeah. He was celebrating a brilliant play with 2 seconds left to go in the game that gave his team a chance to win it. There's a big difference. Oklahoma has a first down. Iglesias on the flanker screen gets it out past the 35. And let me go back to something you said earlier, Todd. The variety of plays and offensive systems that Oklahoma is able to run. I mean, that is just so impressive, especially when they get in close ball games. They'll be able to do basically anything they want that they think that defense is vulnerable to.
And it all revolves around their offensive line and their quarterback's decision-making.
Bradford, nice touch pass, gets this complete. And that's Jermaine Gresham, the tight end. 64 yards. Let me paraphrase Buddy Ryan. All he does is catch touchdowns. The frustration on the face of Tyrone Willingham.
Well, it's sloppy tackling by the Washington defense. And we saw it on the Broyles touchdown, and now we see it again on the Gresham touchdown. Good throw and catch. Okay, you give up a play, but don't give up a 64-yard touchdown just because you're sloppy trying to make the tackle. And that should not have been a touchdown.
Gresham is 6'6", 261, and he can run. You don't think this guy has an NFL feature? 18 out of 21 for Bradford, 5 touchdowns. Time now for Todd's Taste of the Town, that's brought to you by Chase.
Located on Seattle's Salmon Bay and just a short boat ride from Husky Stadium is the historic Fisherman's Terminal, the home port of the North Pacific Fishing Fleet. And right in the center of the terminal is a great restaurant called Chinook's. It's been open since 1988, and the seafood here is so fresh, even the fishermen eat here. Now, some people, like my partner, think I won't eat anything unless it's fried or smothered in gravy, but I've got a very versatile palate, and today I've got a beautiful piece of king salmon that was roasted on an alder plank, gives it a tremendous flavor, and topped with a roasted red pepper beurre blanc sauce. Exquisite.
That's the first time I've ever heard you use the word exquisite. First time I've ever seen you with a napkin.
Yeah, you just usually use the sleeve, but yeah, I had to change it up a little bit.
You go out there and all those boats outside, they could probably reel in some salmon where they're anchored right now.
Now that place goes through 250 pounds of king salmon a week, and it is, boy, it was really, really good.
You know, I don't like seafood, but that looked wonderful. It looked like it was prepared beautiful. 48-7. And the return for Tripper Johnson, the former minor league baseball player. Unfortunately, I do have a complaint about Taste of the Town this week.
Okay.
The salmon pie that you brought back. The apple pie a week before was a lot better. The salmon pie leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, a little bit of a stretch.
It is. It is.
Well, I'll tell you, I couldn't come to Seattle and not have the fresh salmon. I mean, that's what Seattle's known for.
Absolutely.
And, Chinook's was outstanding. It was really a great place, and just had to change up. You know, probably go back to something real healthy next week. But
you know, you could put gravy on salmon. I mean, that's.
Yeah. I guess some people could think that it was gravy, that Beurre Blanc sauce.
Yes. And I thought that was pronounced very well.
Thank you.
Now here we go. At UCLA had burgers to the apple pan, chopped pork at East Carolina. That stuff looked good. And Chinooks this week. Next week we'll be at Auburn, and I think you're right. I think we'll go back to probably a little more home down south home cooking. You think?
You know, the other thing I didn't get to see at Chinooks, but I know they had a big crowd. They have a boat. It's called the Dog Boat that leaves from that restaurant on game day, and they had 450 passengers that ride the boat from the restaurant to Husky Stadium. And I know they had a bunch of Oklahoma fans that were doing it as well. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's been going on for several years out of that restaurant and out of the Fisherman's Terminal. So it's about a 45-minute boat ride, only because they can only go a certain speed. But, boy, wouldn't that be a fun way to come to a game?
Wouldn't it, though?
Yeah.
You saw DeMarcus Granger coming back on with crutches. He was the young man who was called for a penalty on a play that was whistled dead. He got a lick in and was called for a roughing penalty, and on the next play was retaliated against. He was triple teamed and got banged around, and this is Ronnie Fouch, who was in a quarterback.
Yeah, this was, you know, I mean, I understand the guys going at him a little bit, but the extracurricular stuff is what was unnecessary. That's what didn't need to happen. Now, he hurt his foot. Obviously, he has a boot on his foot, and he's using the crutches, but the extracurricular stuff by the Washington offensive line there was totally uncalled for.
And at second look, it did not look like a punch that one of those guys threw. It was just... What did the one official used to say in the NFL? He was down there giving them the business. Boyles, with that tremendous speed, got a heck of a block at the sideline. This week, Monday Night Football takes you to the NFC East. Donovan McNabb, Brian Westbrook, and the Eagles against Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys. Monday Night Football on ESPN at 8:30 Eastern. Our coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern. Monday Night Countdown delivered by UPS. That is arguably the toughest division in all of football in the NFC East. And the Eagles and the Cowboys. The Eagles surprised people last week.
Yeah.
The Cowboys, a lot of people's trendy choice to win it all.
Well, Donovan McNabb, I'll tell you, when he's on, he can flat out play. And Brian Westbrook, just is a guy, he really is. He's a little guy. He's kind of an unassuming looking guy out there on the field, but he makes plays.
Yes, he
does. He really makes a lot of plays.
Joey Halsley out of Huntington Beach, California, 6'3" senior comes on. He put up pretty good numbers so far in relief of Bradford. 14 out of 16. That's almost 88%. Obviously doesn't get a chance to play all that much, but they should be pretty comfortable with him in there because he is so accurate. Brown gets the carry. And Sam Bradford had another brilliant ball game through almost 3/4 of play.
Well,
he is a talented kid.
He is, and I watched the first 2 games on Coach's tape and was very impressed, and equally impressed with him today. And again, those 3 components just jumped out at me on film. I mean, his composure and his poise, his balance of his feet, and his accuracy throwing the football.
Matt Clapp, the fullback, gets a rare carry. Now, when you say Coach's tape, tell the fans what you're talking about there and what you see on that.
Well, I mean, I just watched the same tape that the coaches on the, at the respective schools have, and it's basically an angle of the film where it's all 22 players. So you see the whole offense, you see the whole defense, and you don't see as tight a shots as we usually give you on a TV camera angle, and it's just an easier way to watch the whole play, watch everybody on the play. And you usually see it from the sideline like we're looking at it right now, and then they'll run the same play from kind of behind the offense, so you see it from 2 different perspectives.
But it's much easier to identify what defenses, what coverages are in the secondary and that kind of thing. And that's exactly why they call it Coach's tape, because that's what they're going to look at. They want to see what schemes these other teams are running, and that's going to be the last play of the 3rd quarter. Yeah, the analysts do their research. That's why they're so good up here. It's 48-7 Sooners, end of 3. ESPN HD.